Good day everyone, I am Manarika and today I'll be discussing about appendices. But before we proceed to the main discussion, let me share to you the outline of my First is the definition of appendices. Second is the purpose of the appendices. Third is the content that should be included in the appendices. And lastly are the things that should be considered in writing the appendices. Appendix, in plural form appendices, is a section found at the end of an academic document, such as report, research paper, thesis, or dissertation. It contains supplementary materials that support the main text but are either too lengthy or too detailed to be included within the body of the work. So appendices enhances the reader's understanding by providing additional data, explanations, or references without disrupting the flow of the main content. So the appendix is placed after the reference list and is formatted separately from the main body of the work. It allows authors to include important but non-essential information that may be useful for readers who wish to explore the topic in more depth. Next is the purpose of appendices. So what is the purpose of appendices? First is to provide readers with extra details without interrupting the flow of the main text. So in academic writing, maintaining a logical and smooth flow of ideas is crucial. However, some information such as extensive data, detailed descriptions, or technical explanations may be too complex or lengthy to be included in the main body of the document. So an appendix allows writers to place this supplementary material at the end, ensuring that the main text remains clear and concise. So for example, a research paper discussing climate change might include a brief summary of temperature trends in the main text, while a detailed table of historical temperature data is provided in an appendices or appendix. Second is to include supporting evidence that is too lengthy for the main section. In research and analytical writing, it is often necessary to provide evidence to support claims. However, some forms of evidence, such as raw data, statistical analysis, interview transcripts, or survey responses can be too lengthy to include directly in the main body of the paper. By placing this supporting evidence in an appendix, writers can present a concise argument in the main text while ensuring that the readers who wish to explore the details can find them in the appendices. Next is defining terms introduced in the document. So in research papers, technical reports, and academic essays, specialized terms or jargons are often introduced. So instead of crowding the main text with lengthy definitions or explanations, an appendix can serve as a glossary where these terms are defined comprehensively. So this is particularly useful in documents that involve scientific, medical, or legal terminology where definitions are essential for full understanding but do not need to be repeated throughout the main discussion. Next is expanding information in the document. So some concepts introduced in a paper may require further explanation, but including these details within the main text could be disruptive. So it makes the decision too lengthy. So appendices provide a space to expand on certain topics without diverting attention from the primary argument. Next is it helps readers find additional information about the topic. So an appendix is not just a place for supplementary materials. It is also served as a resource hub where readers find additional information that enhances their understanding of the topic. So this could include references related to the studies, detailed case studies, extended bibliographies, or links for external resources. So providing additional information in an appendix allows readers to further explore aspects of the topics that interest them without forcing all readers to engage with every detail in the main text. Next is the common content in the appendices. First is the correspondence. If your research included collaborations with others or outreach to others, Then correspondence in the form of letters, memorandums, or copies of emails from those you interacted with could be included. Next is the interview transcripts. So in qualitative research, interviewing respondents is often used to gather information. So the full transcript from an interview is important so the reader can read the entire dialogue between the researcher and the respondents. The interview protocol, which is the list of questions, should also be included. Next is the non-textual elements. So if there are a lot of non-textual items such as figures, tables, maps, charts, photographs, drawings, or graphs, it should be also included in the appendix. Is questionnaires or surveys. So this is a common form of data gathering. So always include the survey instrument or questionnaires in an appendix so the readers understand not only the questions asked but the sequence in which they were asked. Include also all the variations of the instruments as well as if different items were sent to different groups. So for example, those given to the teachers in one appendix and those given to administrators in another one. Next is raw statistical data. So this can include any numerical data that is too lengthy to include in charts or tables and is entirely within the text. So this is important because the entire source of data should be included even if you are referring to only certain parts of a chart or table in the text of your paper. Lastly is the sample calculation. This can include quantitative research formulas or detailed descriptions of how calculations were used to determine relationships and significance. Let's discuss the things to consider in writing the appendices. First is to include raw data in a clear format so readers can verify the results. It is usually good to practice to include your raw data in the appendix, laying it out in a clear format so the reader can recheck your results. So for example, a student research paper on student performance might include a table of individual test scores in an appendix, allowing readers to verify statistical analysis. Second is to use a separate numbering sequence for tables and figures in the appendix as they should not follow the numbering used in the main text. So any tables and figures included in the appendix should be numbered as a separate sequence from the main paper. Remember that appendices contains non-essential information that if removed would not diminish a reader's ability to understand the research problem being investigated. This is why non-textual elements should not carry over the sequential numbering of non-textual elements in the body. Third is listing appendices in the table of contents. So if you have more than 3 appendices, consider listing them on a separate page in the table of contents. This will help the reader know what information is included in the appendices. Example, a research paper with multiple appendices might list them in a table of contents like this: Appendix A, interview transcript; Appendix B, survey questions; and Appendix C, statistical analysis. Fourth is use of non-textual elements. So the appendix can be a good place to put maps, photographs, diagrams, and other images. If you feel that it will help the reader to understand the content of your paper, while keeping in mind the study should be understood without them. For example, a geography research paper might include a map in the appendix to show regional data distribution. Lastly, keep the appendix clear and concise. So the name of an appendix should be concise. The label you choose to identify an appendix should be short and to the point, even if the information presented is complex or multi-layered. So example, instead of including a long 50-page interview transcript in one appendix, divide it into sections like Appendix D, interview transcripts; Appendix D, 1, interview with school principal; Appendix D-2, interview with the students. So these are the things that you need to consider in writing an appendices. In summary, appendices contains supplementary information that supports the main text but is too detailed to include in the body. Also, appendices always placed at the end of a document after the reference list. Avoid overloading appendices with excessive information, and divide large sections into multiple appendices if necessary, and never include an appendix that isn't referred to in the text. So that would be all. Thank you for listening.